All right, so here we go. Welcome to Vodia PBX SIP trunks. So today we're going to have a quick review of what is a SIP trunk, what does it do, and how you can configure it on the PBX. So let's start by introducing what do trunks do. Trunks are used to route calls in and out of the phone system. The term trunk originates from the old PBX system, where the PBX was connected to the public telephone network using physical wires called trunks. Today, trunks transport the conversation over the network. Calls can end up on a PSTN gateway that is located close to the PBX server, but they also can end up on a service provider's network that takes care about the PSTN termination as a service. Trunks may have several lines. These lines represent the physical cables that were used in the PSTN world, and they are called CO lines and the contents of the PBX. A CO lines can have one call appearance. Types of trunks. Registration trunks. When connecting to an ITSP, Internet Service Provider, you may be required to use a SIP registration trunks due to the fact that the ITSP does not need to know your public IP address. They will learn it through the registration process. The SIP registration trunk is a popular type of SIP trunk, and it is easy to set up on the ITSP account. Has been established. It requires the system to register to the provider just like an IP phone registers with the phone. So most of you already know how to register accounts such as Callcentric, Next Vortex, Vitality. So these are SIP trunks registrations. SIP gateway. The gateway trunk is typically used to talk to PSTN or cellular gateways, which could authenticate the call leg on the IP address in the system, meaning the public IP of the system. However, some ITSP that do not have a session border controller and require a public IP address use gateway trunks. A gateway is defined as a device that converts media from one network or protocol to another. This type of trunk is used for media gateway. SIP gateways are used to transport public switched telephone network, PSTN, terminated signaling across an internet protocol IP network. Basically, you can use an audio codes, a Mediatrix, SIP gateway, Sangoma, Net Border Express. That's a gateway that interfaces into the PBX to an FXO. The gateway sits between the PSTN and IP network. Unlike SIP registration trunks, the gateway model does not register. It just sends the traffic to the destination. Outbound proxy. The outbound proxy trunks can be used to communicate with any other type of SIP proxy or IP telephone system, or to join two IP telephone system deployments together, which most of our users are doing. They are trunking between two PBXs. So PBX number 2 might have the termination to, let's say, Vitality, and PBX number 1 can create a dial plan and a trunk to PBX number 2. So the calls will be trunking out PBX2 through the Vitality trunk. And it's a great way to save money and resources. The outbound proxy trunk is a direct connection to the network and similar to the gateway model. The difference is in the way of anonymous calls are made and how the proxy represents its own domain, which of course, if you create an outbound proxy to two servers, you can then control how the caller ID or numbers or DID numbers are shown to the system. So you can manipulate this if it is in your own network or between two PBXs on two public IPs. The proxy model assumes that you are talking to a SIP proxy or a session border controller, which the PBX has a mini border controller already built in. So that's a plus. You don't have to worry about how calls are going to be directed to the PBX between the two. While the gateway model assumes you are talking to the SIP user agent. However, the two models are quite similar. WebRTC trunks. WebRTC is a way that the browser can communicate using audio and video. to other parties in the internet. The audio and videos is sent using the RTP protocol, just like most of the internet real-time communication is using. However, instead of using H.323, SIP or other protocol, WebRTC leaves the call set up to the service provider and JavaScript coding running on the browser. While there is a wide agreement that WebRTC is the way to go for communication from the web browser, not every web browser supports it yet. Actually, as of today, only Google Chrome supports it in its release version. Firefox is a beta version with WebRTC support. We expect it will be included in the standard release. So today we support the WebRTC protocol. Some of you might have used it, and some of you might not know that we have a WebRTC protocol built into the PBX. For example, here we have the user portal. In the user portal, you can make calls from the browser, providing that you have a headphone set up on your PC or laptop. You'll be able to make calls and receive calls. How do you receive calls? Well, you have to be registered. So this little register button here, if you click it, you will see, for example, a extension like 501 turn green. When a call is being made, you will see a red indicating that the call is on a call. As you can see, I made a quick call. And then here we have the WebRTC pad that Vodia created. Essentially what this is that you can put it on your website with a generated HTML that we generate on the PBX. And you can take that code and put it on your website, and people can put their names and press the make call and direct the calls to a hung group or a receptionist. So your call will always be live. There will always be someone there. And I encourage you guys to try it out. We'll talk about it some more. A WebRTC can easily be created on the PBX, and the HTML code can be implemented on your website when you press the generate button. So here's quite of the gifs of it. When you create a WebRTC trunk, you put your name and destination for incoming call. This is important because you want the call to be answered by someone or an auto attendant, for example. So here you can list a match or send call to request URI, which you really don't need to use this because there's not an incoming call. So you will send all calls to a specific account. And then here's the generated button. When you press it, it gives you HTML code that you can put on your website. And then when the site is live, you will see this pad with the make call button. The PBX has pre-programmed trunk providers. All you need is your account number and SIP password. The rest is populated by the PBX. Okay, we have also a list of providers that we have tested and providers that work with us, providing that you have a SIP password and an account number that you can put in creation. So you can see we have Sotel, Vitality, VoIP Talk, etc., etc. So once you choose this, you can put your account, press the create button, you're done. You don't have to worry about configuring anything in that section. If you need to, you can just go into the account and change whatever you need to change. But pretty much it's on the fly, you're ready to go, and you can go on to your next configuration. Choose your PSTN device. If you have a gateway appliance on the LAN, it is already configured. Then the PBX can create a SIP trunk. Okay, so basically what this is, if you have an audio codes matrix patent Vega stream, you can we can create a configuration file, and we will push this configuration file to the gateway of your choice. Also, we can tell it on the configuration where to send the call. So this is created on the fly. You don't really have to go into the unit and log in and make all these fancy changes. It's quite a waste of time. Actually, if you don't know what you're doing, then we do know what we're doing. So all you have to do is choose your device, press create, and we will do the plug and play between the device, the media gateway, and the PBX. PSTN configurator. The PBX has a power provisioning feature that will automatically configure your PSTN, as I mentioned. The PBX will push the configuration file to the PSTN gateway when setup is pressed. So this is another feature that we have. If your device is on the LAN, you'll navigate to phone, set up device on the LAN. Basically the same thing that I said was choose your vendor, put in your MAC address and your IP and subnet and default gateway. This is just to set up a static, but in most cases, it'll show up on this screen here. When you press the setup button, you will see a page here with all the extensions and the accounts that you can tell the media gateway to send the calls to when inbound calls are directed into the PBX. How the system routes a call to the proper extension. Once the truck has been identified and the inbound call is trusted, the system must determine where in the system to send the call. Two possibilities are available for this. The system first looks at the trunk, send call to extension setting. If the setting includes an extension, agent group, hunt group, or auto attendant, the call will be sent to that account. If that extension does not exist, the call will fail. So this is really important when you set up your trunk. In most cases, we will do it for you at configuring either setup in the LAN or choosing your VoIP provider. We do tell you to set up where the call should end up. But if you want to go in and do some more modifications, then you can go into the trunk and under the send all calls to a specific, you can use the default account and then choose where you want the call to go. Routing redirection, basically the same thing, but a little bit to where you can use expressions on this section. So the system first looks at the trunk send call to field setting. Other option is send calls to destination in the request URI. Most of you already know what this is. Basically, when an inbound call comes in, the PBX looks at the request URI. If you've chosen send calls to destination in the request URI, then the PBX will match the DID that's on the account. So basically here you have 693 space DID number. And when the call comes in, the PBX is smart enough to find this account on that particular domain. And this is how a request URI looks like. Invite zip calling the number at some IP address calling 5060. The PBX look at this and matches the extension. So that's all that is. Nothing out of the ordinary. If the setting includes a regular expression, the system will route the call accordingly. When using a regular expression in the send call to extension field, it's important to provide a default extension in the event a replacement pattern does not produce an existing extension. In the example shown below, 77 is the fallback extension. Okay, if you guys are gurus and you guys know how to do expressions, and this is well documented on the web, you can go search this out. But if you want to use regular expression, this is very simple expression here. All it says, when a number comes in to the PBX, I want you to look between 0 through 9, and I want you to match the last 3 numbers. And if it doesn't match, send it to 777. And then, of course, the T means look at the 2 fields. And if the call doesn't match, send it to 77, which usually is an auto attendant or a receptionist. So let's talk about the DID management. The PBX can also identify a DID in the system as well. As you already know, we've spoke about it, but in this case, you can actually set up your DIDs before you tell your trunks where to send it. So this is located on the admin level, under DID management. If you are a hosted provider, this is a very powerful tool. You don't really have to go to the domain to set up a DID for a customer. You just do it from here. It works. Everyone uses it. I encourage you guys to use it to save you guys some time. So that's what we're trying to do here for you guys. So make your job easy so that you don't have to waste 10 minutes in creating a DID or multiple DIDs on a domain. So basically, here you'll put your DID number, or here's an example. I put a number in, and I want to map it to a particular domain. If you're a multi-domain, you just pick the domain you want. You want to map it to an account, agent group, hunt group, or an extension. And then here it says use it as an outbound DID as well. So when that user or that account makes an outbound call, it'll use this as a DID. Outbound caller ID. One of the unique features of version 4.5 is the ability to send just about anything in the SIP headers. When making outbound calls, this is particularly useful if the trunk provider needs special parameters value in the SIP headers. So this was a feature that was on the old 4.5 and was revamped on version 5. There were some missing aspects that we added, and we added some more powerful tools so that you can manipulate the way you want a call to be sent out. In some cases, you're allowed to if the SIP trunk allows you to do it. But in this case, this is a great feature which allows you to work with your SIP trunk provider. Some SIP trunk providers, for example, would want to change the request URI. So you need to change it in such a way that the call will be sent out to the trunk provider, and the trunk provider will accept that call. But if not, you know, you can change the from field, the to field. We already have some indications what you can use. But when you start with a new trunk provider, the first thing you need to ask them is, how does the call need to go out? What do you guys look at when a call is going out? Do you look at the from field? Do you look at the pre-asserted? Do I look at the pre-referred or the remote party ID? What do you need to see so that my call is completed on the other side? It's a very important question you need to ask, because then you're going to start fiddling around with the settings, and you're going to waste your time. So that's the first question you need to ask. How do you want my call to go out the system? What do you look at? And these fields will provide you some indications on what you need to do. And we also have a cheat sheet for the custom headers as well. And we have a PCAP generator. This is a feature that was added a couple versions ago. If you're having trouble with your trunks, either one-way audio, some jitter going onto the system, this is a great way to capture the traffic on the PBX. All you need to do is scroll down on your trunk and generate PCAP traces for calls. If you activate it to yes and save, make your test calls, and then when you're done, it's very important that you turn it off. Otherwise, the PCAP feature will continue to capture packets on your PBX, and over time it will fill up your hard drive. So you don't want that. After you finish doing your investigation, turn it off to no, press save, you're done. The PCAP file will be found in the working directory of the PBX, and the file is called PCAP. There you'll see the PCAP file, and you'll see the date and time it was captured. And for any reason you need to do this and open a ticket with us, you can send this file to us. We'll take a look at it. Or you can also send it to your trunk provider if you believe the trunk provider has done something different on their network. So this is it. I hope you guys learned a lot on how to configure your trunks. I think I might just go through a few items with you so you guys can see how I configure a call-centric trunk. So let's see if we can share a screen here. So let's choose. All right, so this is my PBX, and essentially this is what I'm using here. So you see I have a call-centric account. I have a 200OK, and this is, I chose this trunk from my SIP trunk providers. And there's my WebRTC trunk, and there's the generated folder. Okay, for you guys, if you guys missed the presentation, it's recorded. You can upload it, and you can check it out on YouTube during your lunch. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I'll see you next time.